Sean from Byron, Illinois. I've been rewatching old WWE pay-per-views like Taboo Tuesday from 2005 with Batista against Jonathan Coachman, who had Goldust and Vader in his corner. I remember it was supposed to be Steve Austin facing the coach and was wondering why he was pulled. I also remember Vader was not seen again as well. So basically, what was supposed to happen if Austin was in the match and why wasn't he? Because Vince McMahon is a moron and he wanted Stone Cold Steve Austin to lose to Jonathan Coachman. Yes, that was supposedly the plan for the match. For Austin, it would have been his first match since losing to The Rock at WrestleMania 19. For Austin to lose on pay-per-view to an announcer, with lots of interference, I'm sure, but I'm not sure how you could even present the idea to Austin with a straight face and not expect him not only to reject it, but to drop your ass. And that's what he did. He didn't drop them, but he rejected the idea. He went home. The storyline was that Jim Ross had just been fired on TV. This was around the Dr. Heine time. I just got done talking about that. So JR was fired on TV a few weeks earlier. That was the night Linda McMahon kicked him in the slobber knockers, and the whole McMahon family laughed at him and celebrated. The idea was that Austin would wrestle Coachman, and if Austin lost, he was fired too. But if he won, then JR would get his job back. And they so thoroughly humiliated Jim Ross in that segment with the McMahons. The only logical conclusion would be that Austin would whoop some ass and be the hero to get JR his job back. But Vince McMahon apparently had no intention of bringing Jim Ross back. He didn't want JR on Raw anymore. Sound familiar? Yeah, we've heard that a time or two over the years. So he tried to stick it to the UFC. This is what Vince McMahon did. He tried to stick it to Dana White and UFC by secretly signing their lead announcer, their play-by-play guy, Mike Goldberg, to no-show a UFC pay-per-view at the last minute. And then he wanted to sign him to a contract to be the new lead announcer for Monday Night Raw. So it's bad enough that Goldberg would no-show the UFC event, but then on Monday, he would show up as the brand new play-by-play voice for Monday Night Raw. And Vince made him an offer that years later when he would do interviews, Mike Goldberg said was incredible. It was an overwhelming offer. Oh, and also, by the way, Stephanie wanted him to change his name because they already had a guy named Goldberg who had worked for the company. Even though Goldberg wasn't even with the company anymore. Court Bauer mentioned that once. This is when Court worked for the company as a writer. And he told that story. He's like, you got to change your name. We can't have more than one Goldberg, because they look so familiar. They look so similar to each other. I mean, if I saw Bill Goldberg and Mike Goldberg walking down the street, I would think I was looking at twins. I might confuse them. Anyway, Goldberg thought about it. The money was so great, he thought about it, but in the end, he decided to go tell Dana White, and he ended up with a fat new UFC contract out of it. So good for him. But it's one of the reasons I laugh whenever I hear interviews with Vince McMahon from over the years crying about something deceptive that another promoter did to him or tried to do to him. Oh, woe is me. How could I compete with billionaire Ted's blank checkbook or a time-honored tradition? You got to do the time-honored tradition this and time-honored tradition that. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Vince McMahon didn't invent that game. But he got awfully good at playing it himself, especially as he was expanding back in the 80s. So it's okay when he doesn't play fair. Because, well, that's business. You do what you got to do. It's okay when he doesn't play fair. But when others don't play fair, well, it's just not right. When the Goldberg plan fell through, they decided to hire Joey Styles. Joey Styles had been out of wrestling for a while. He had an advertising agency job or something. They hired Joey Styles to be their lead announcer on Raw, and we ended up with Styles, Jerry Lawler, and Jonathan Coachman for a while as a three-man booth. So when Austin learned of this great plan that they had, he balked, as he should have. Vince McMahon came out on TV and said that Austin had an accident of some sort. And he would not be at Taboo Tuesday. And that may or may not have been true. He told them he hurt his back moving furniture at home. Yes. So he couldn't do the match anyway, because he hurt his back moving furniture. Yes, he was moving his grand piano on the ranch, and he threw out his back right before he was scheduled to lose to Jonathan Coachman. So Batista was the backup plan, and they brought in Goldust and Vader as a one-shot. I mean, they were on TV once, and then they were on the pay-per-view as backup for the coach, who lost. Although they dropped the whole stipulation about JR winning his job back. So I guess then it was okay for Batista to get the win. All I remember from the Vader and the Goldust stuff was Vader returning on Monday Night Raw, and I think he helped lay out Batista. And he fell down as he was exiting the ring. He was jumping through the ropes, out of the ring, and as soon as his body, probably even before his body or his feet hit the floor, his massive girth was taking him backwards. And he was so heavy at this point. He was so overweight and obese. You know, as he climbed through the ropes, his weight just sort of carried him over. It was very embarrassing. And when Coachman helped him up, he let out an F-bomb because he knew. He knew it was embarrassing. I felt bad for the guy. This entire thing was just doomed from the start. It was a cluster from the word go. And I can only hope that Austin's back is doing much better now.